Most people see their competitors as a threat, but today I'm going to share the story of two creators who, while being direct competition to each other, found a way to work together. Today we're interviewing not one, but two successful creators. They are Angie Holden and Cori and Angie, two bloggers and crafters who teamed up, and together they host virtual education events for hobby crafters that average 35,000 attendees with multiple speakers.
We had zero clue if anyone would be interested, if anyone would attend, and we had over 40,000 people.
Both Angie and Cori also run YouTube channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and today they're here to share with us how they built a successful business around arts and crafts, and how they launch virtual events that attract tens of thousands of attendees. Welcome to The Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world hearing their stories about growing a business. Hey everyone, I'm Brian McAnulty, the founder of Heights Platform. Let's get into it. Many have asked me what software I use to record such high quality video for this podcast. I use Riverside, and what's great about Riverside is it records the local camera feed from you and your guests around the world, which means crisp 4K video without having to worry about blurriness due to internet hiccups. Riverside is also a great editor, fitting with my philosophy of making it easy for yourself to create because there is nothing that your guests or you have to download. We also use Riverside's AI magic clips to find interesting moments for our episode intros. And I'm happy to announce that Riverside is sponsoring this episode. And if you sign up at creators.riverside.fm/creatorsadventure and use code creatorsadventure, you'll get 15% off. You can find the link in the episode description as well. Now back to the show. Hey everyone, we're here today with craft bloggers and YouTubers Angie Holden and Cori and Angie, who have teamed up to create crafting camps. They host virtual education events for hobby crafters and small craft business owners. These events average more than 35,000 attendees and bring together dozens of speakers and brands for a long weekend of fun and educational content. Angie Holden is a blogger and YouTuber where she has more than 350,000 fans. Angie shares easy to follow tips and tricks for sublimation, laser, and Cricut projects every week. And Cori and Angie is the colorful and creative mind behind Hey, Let's Make Stuff. Through her website and digital shop, she's got more than 7 million crafters hooked on Cricut, sublimation, and laser crafts. Additionally, she's a 3-time published craft book author, with her newest book, Sublimation Crafting, hitting shelves this month. All right, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is a little bit different. Our first time interviewing two creators together, but interested to kind of hear what you have to share with our audience. So my first question for both of you is, what would you say is the biggest thing either that you did or you are doing that has helped you to achieve the freedom to do what you enjoy?
I would say for us as a partnership would be partnering together, basically. I feel like we could have made a certain amount of progress and growth on our own, but we decided that we could probably do better if we teamed up, which I think is a little bit different because a lot of people just see other people as competitors. But we decided, we are direct competitors. Our bios are nearly identical. You read them.
Yeah, so, I realized that.
And so we really are like each other's number one competitor in this space, but we decided teaming up would get us a lot farther than sort of working against each other.
Yeah, and working together, we're able to reach a broader audience, kind of pool our audience. We have some overlap, but not totally. And then our events also, in that same vein, they collaborate with other bloggers and YouTubers. So we have anywhere between like 20 to 25 other speakers during our events. So it takes that collaboration to like a whole other level.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I wanted to ask how did you actually come to work together originally? Because like you said, I think many creators out there, they see somebody in the same space as them and they're like, that's a competitor. I'm going to never, ever talk to them. But you guys saw that as an opportunity for collaboration.
I feel like we were both of course, knew about each other. So we were traveling in the same space. We, see each other online. And then we did small things. Guest posted on each other's blog. We had like little blog hops, that type of thing. And then sublimation was, getting hot in the market. And we saw these other people creating these online summits, having success with them. And Cori said something to me one day, was like, we should do something for sublimation. And I was like, we should do it together. Totally. So it just sort of was born from that. Our first camp event, we had zero clue if anyone would be interested, if anyone would attend, and we had over 40,000 people. So we were like, we're really onto something here. People love that camp atmosphere, and they also love the two of us together. I feel like they love us doing lives and just like sort of bouncing things around off each other.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel
Awesome.
like people are always really excited. We get a lot of good feedback that people like to see people collaborating versus sort of bad mouthing other creators or that sort of thing, which can happen even in our crafty industry. And so I like the collaborative thing we have going because I think our audience really likes it too.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really interesting connection that you make because it's making me think of like not necessarily like influencers, but like if you see like celebrities or musicians and they like two people collaborate on something, like everyone goes crazy. It's like, wow, these two people that I like, now they're doing something together. And yeah, it makes sense that in the kind of creator space here, why not do the same thing? So did you guys actually know each other in person at all in any way, or had you just met online? How did that work?
By the time we did our first camp, we had met in person a bunch of times. Before the pandemic, there were lots of events for crafting bloggers, those sorts of things. And so we met at a lot of those events. Most of them don't exist anymore, which is unfortunate, but we had met many times in person by then.
Got it. So yeah, putting together a major event like this can have a major payoff, but there's definitely risks as well. And actually, recently I was interviewing someone where they're an eight-figure creator, and they were talking about how they don't like big launches and the cons of that versus like just kind of an evergreen offer. So I'm curious to hear the other side of that and why you guys enjoy hosting these big events.
The first one, I'm going to give it to you. It was a learning curve. There was a severe learning curve in the beginning, just like the back end portion of the event. And yes, it launches all at once. So that first day is very, very nerve wracking. And it still is to this day. And I feel like we have our procedures down at this point where, we know what we need to do to put on a successful camp. But still, that first day jitters, they're always there. So I would agree with that, but I do think the excitement building of our audience of having it all at one time. So it's 3 days usually, and having those 3 days as the event days builds this level of excitement with the audience, and they're talking about it online. And I almost think it helps our sales rather than having more evergreen offer.
I would agree because we have a Facebook group where people can, if they get our free ticket, they can just join the Facebook group. And there's tons of people in there saying, oh my gosh, the all access pass is totally worth it. Or I got it last year. Or, people adding their friends, all of these different ways that sort of create this excitement that, we both have quite a few evergreen offers as well. But I feel like overall, I really prefer kind of like the excitement. And because we do it in this sort of camp theme, it's basically themed like a summer camp. So like you can get badges and we have a evening campfire and all of these things. Like it really creates this sense of sort of camp camaraderie like you had when you were a kid, even though it's all online, which is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And like we have a feature in our software for creating challenges. And one of the reasons I really like having like challenges versus an evergreen offer is with certain things like that creates all the not only the accountability but like the hype to get everybody involved of like people are into crafts and everything, but to say like this is the event, it's happening all right now, it's a really strong reason for everyone to go and then actually move forward with all of it.
Yeah, our challenge is the little badges, and they're digital files that are just clip art, and people go crazy over earning those badges. Completing, watching all the classes, following all of our speakers, just little badges like that, and they just love to collect them all during the camp, and then for the next camp to see which new ones we've added because we always add new ones every year.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that's really helpful. So averaging more than 35,000 attendees to your events, that's super impressive. And at that level, like roughly how long does it take for you to both prepare an event and how many people are involved in the team to make it happen?
Not enough people. um, we do. We actually have, I guess it depends on the event, as many as 6 of us running an event. Angie and I, and then we each have somebody who works for us, and the 4 of us do the primary planning of the event. We start by reaching out to our speakers several months beforehand. There are a lot of events like this in our crafting space, and so we want to make sure we are getting ahead of the curve a little bit in asking people to be teachers. And then also, we then spend a lot of time getting, everybody gets their videos in a month early so that we can get everything uploaded, because none of the videos that we do, except for maybe a couple of lives that me and Angie do, everything's pre-recorded, so it's not so stressful for the speakers during the launch. And then we each have somebody working for us, and then we also have a person doing all of our customer service. Shout out to Susan, she's the best. And then we also have kind of a tech guy who is there for Sublimation Camp in particular, because that camp, sublimation printing can get a little technical, and there are a lot of issues that people can have, and so he's sort of there to help troubleshoot with people's crafting.
Yeah, I feel that what's interesting and a little bit different about you guys, and it's kind of a common misconception, is that running events like this is only for a business or a creator who's going to sell to another business owner. So can you share more about how you feel these events work so well with everyday consumers?
Yeah, so our audience is primarily, they're crafters. So they can be anyone from, a mom that crafts once a month to a small business owner that crafts and sells their goods. So we have to think about marketing to, I feel like, a wider range of people and the offers. So I, as a speaker, can make another offer to those attendees, as well as our other speakers. So we allow them to make an offer during their presentation. It might be a freebie to get on an email list. It might be like a bump offer, just depends on the speaker. And so it's kind of like keeping that in mind with when you're targeting what the offer will be as to that wide range of people, I feel like, and knowing that all of them are not small business owners and some of them are in fact hobby crafters.
Yeah, I would say, I have things for small craft business owners. I have, ebooks, how to make money with Cricut crafting, those sorts of things. And then I also have things like just sublimation cheat sheets, which are for everybody. And so I feel like finding, an offer that works really well for that audience is important. I feel like we really do the crafters just have a really great community sort of built in. Because a lot of crafters watch all of the same influencers. So they watch me, they watch Angie, they watch some of our other speakers, and then they see us all doing these things. And again, it creates that sort of sense of camaraderie that I don't know if exists in a lot of other industries. But I do like that we are able to reach both everyday crafters with just educational content, and then we're able to reach those small businesses with that sort of business-to-business content on how to grow their businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I think there is an opportunity out there for more creators than maybe they're currently thinking about right now for creating something like an event like this. And I'm drawing some connections between even what I do in my business and you guys, you're not one of our customers at Heights Platform currently, but you're in the space, you're a creator, and so why not still talk with you and share what you have to say? So I think it's helpful if people kind of take that framing of it, not only the first part of, first of all, not everyone is your competitor, you can actually find ways to collaborate and it's better for everyone involved. But then second of all, how can you, there's other ways you can work with these people, and they don't have to be customers or a direct partner with you guys, but you guys have these other speakers that you're going out and bringing in. So.
And it also just creates friendships and camaraderie among us as well. I would say my closest friends are other craft influencer people because, we're constantly talking each other up. We're in chats, we're in groups, and it's just, I don't know, it's a really fun crew to be a part of.
Yeah, that's true. And I think one of the things that's so great about this kind of creator business model is there's so many business models that work in it. So you can have live events, you can have an evergreen offer, all these different types of things. And you get to make it the way you want, and you get to interact with these other people. So my favorite thing about doing this podcast and about doing the live workshops that we do is I get to meet all these cool people and talk with them. And so I just get to do the fun part. My team does the research and preparation, and I just get to sit here and get to know new people. So It can turn things into a lot less work and more fun, I think. So I'm curious more, I think you kind of mentioned it a little bit, of like how the business model actually works. Like I'm trying to take a step into thinking, okay, if I was a creator and I want to do this myself, is the event itself the main product, or are you using the event to sell your product?
So the event itself is actually free. So it's free to attend during the 3 days. And what happens is we have classes for each day. So day one classes are available for 24 hours. Day two classes, 24 hours. Day three, 24 hours. 9 to 11 classes a day. And if they want extended access, so if they want access beyond just the weekend, then we upsell to an all access pass. And that all access pass gets them access for a year, tons of bonuses that our speakers provide, and like transcripts. We just try to add tons of value to that all access pass to get them to purchase. And then Cori and I do have some standalone like evergreen offers, and we will try to bump them with those as well. And the benefit for our speakers is that they're also affiliates, and they get half of any passes that they sell, as well as half of any of our bump offers. So we also offer that to our speakers as well. So we want them to promote to their audiences, of course. So offering that is just like something we love to do.
Yeah, that's great. I think this is a good opportunity for anyone watching or listening to take a step back. And if they're not doing any kind of affiliates or partnerships, realize how powerful that can really be, because it's a win-win for everybody involved. So like you start off, you're like worst case scenario, you're getting leads in some way and helping everyone that way, and getting attention for your speakers and everything when people watch them. But then you also have the opportunity where maybe you're going to sell your product as well. And then maybe all of your other speakers and everything is going to be an affiliate for you, and then promote that and get you other sales. And I think that there's a disconnect with some creators that they think, okay, I'm promoting stuff. Yeah, I heard about the idea of an affiliate, but they don't find ways to connect it, kind of like you have. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, some like our top affiliate exceeds the income that Cori and I bring in alone. So definitely 100% worth affiliates.
And we also try, excuse me, we also try to make our camps very attractive to our speakers. So we do pay a minimum of $500 to all of our speakers if they don't meet that in affiliate income. If they make that in affiliate income, then they just get affiliate income, but we'll make up any deficit there. So all of our speakers are guaranteed $500. We also let them promote before we promote to our existing camp list as well as to our own lists. So our speakers kind of get the first jump on that affiliate money, because we don't want them to feel like we're trying to outdo them. They are giving us their time, their energy, a video, like all of these things that we need to be successful. So we're going to put them first and help them be successful first. And there are some camps where I don't see that happening, where you don't make a commission off that bump offer, or they start promoting the event and getting people to sign up 3 weeks in advance, and then affiliates can do it. And for me and Angie, we're like, no, for us, we want to support our speakers as much as we can. So we do quite a few things to really make sure that they can get that sort of, jump on making that affiliate income.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. I like that. So if somebody's never run an event like this before, but they want to start doing these events, what would you say, what would you recommend to them to get started? What do they need to keep in mind?
I think you need to be really organized. Both Angie and I are very organized. I think we have referred to it as the spreadsheet of doom. So it basically has like all of our speaker information, because we also send out swag bags to our speakers as well. Because we have sponsors too. That's something we haven't talked about, but our sponsors will send items for a swag bag. Angie and I will include items in a swag bag for all of our speakers. So we have addresses and t-shirt sizes. So we have all of that. We have their class names, class descriptions, if they want to do a giveaway. I mean, it's just an absolutely enormous spreadsheet. And we kind of have it so that it's really easy at a glance to see what we're missing. Because as much as we want everybody to turn everything in on the due date, it doesn't happen. Like we have an event coming up and even I haven't finished everything and I'm like 2 weeks late on our own due date. So I do feel like being really organized with something like a very big spreadsheet that your entire team can access, this sort of thing where you could just see at a glance where you are on everything is just really important.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I can attest to that. Like that's the reason that this podcast runs so smoothly is the same thing that we've got in our project management system, everything coming up and like what stage we're at with everybody. Like, do we have questions ready for them? Are like, is it recorded yet? When's it going to be published? And yeah, all the different steps involved. So that's definitely important. I'm curious, like, what are some massive maybe mistakes that you either made or were able to avoid in running past events?
I would say our very massive mistake with our first camp, the platform we're using, we had everyone have to sign in, even if they had the free pass. Now, for the all access pass, that makes sense. It needs to be behind a paywall. But we just made a huge mistake thinking that we needed 30,000 people to log in the first day. And the amount of customer service requests that we had that day was so astronomical that we quickly found a workaround where we have the free pass page never requires a login now. We just send them the link, and that has like dramatically reduced the amount of problems. So that was probably, I think, our biggest mistake going into it is that we just expected everyone to be able to log in. So I definitely think about the technical issues. And I feel like that mistake came from not thinking about our audience enough, because our audience tends to be a little bit not so technical savvy. So we were thinking like we wouldn't have a problem with this, right? But our audience definitely did. So I think it was probably not thinking about our audience enough and their technical capabilities when we got started.
I would completely agree. That was one of the most stressful days I can remember in recent memory.
Yeah, I think that is something easy to overlook for anybody because you kind of only know once you experience it that it's not even just the first question of, oh, how do I log in? Oh, it's right here. Like, then this is your email. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes there's, well, it didn't work. Well, you can reset your password. Well, that didn't work. And then now you've got this chain of actually like 3 or 4 emails just trying to help the person log in, and they're not happy, and your support team is overwhelmed. So what I like to tell creators for courses is like we have the capability people can use an external checkout with us and they can connect it with Zapier or something like that. But it usually does involve a support burden because of that, because they're buying it on one place, then they're going to access it somewhere else, probably a different URL. Then they're going to get an email. It's going to have the password for the student to log in. But then what if the student doesn't see that email? What if they can't find it? What if it went to spam? What if it's delayed? And there's all these problems where if you can instead just say, this is a link, you can go here, you can type in your password as soon as you get here, like you create the password and then you're in it, it makes it so much easier and really reduces that support burden. And I think you don't know that until you experience it, at least somewhat.
Yeah, our first time we also used a third-party checkout. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Absolutely huge mistake.
Our support person, she also has a boatload of emails that she's created, like that are auto responses, so she can just copy and paste. If somebody can't log in now, we still get them, but not nearly at that level. But she has so many, basically, I can't think of what they're called, like the emails, canned
like
responses.
Canned responses.
So many canned responses that she can just use. And I think that has significantly lessened the amount of time that she has to spend, which lessens the amount of money we have to spend.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about with like maybe the marketing side? Any lessons or recommendations there for how to successfully get everybody to the event in the first place? I know you guys have really big audiences, but for those, either if you do or you don't, how do you get them all to actually go and sign up?
I would say affiliates is the biggest. Our biggest affiliate has an email list of, I think, over 1 million people at this point, which is just staggering. And so being able to work with creators who have those big lists, but it's also really, really important to both of us. This is kind of a side note. It's really, really important for us to also pick, people who are smaller as well as our affiliates and our speakers, people who we see a lot of promise in, but who don't have these huge platforms. So we want to give them a leg up because they're getting introduced to a whole new audience as well. And so it is really important for us to pick a diverse audience of big creators, small creators, all sorts of backgrounds, that sort of thing. But I do feel like our biggest marketing efforts are 100% our affiliates.
Yeah, and then giving them all the tools they need. So graphics in a variety of sizes, swipe copy for email, swipe copy for social, just overloading them with as much as they need so they'll be enticed to share more, I feel like. And then, yeah, definitely the good affiliate percentage. And I do feel like last time we added a bump offer for our evergreen offer, and I feel like that helps some because it upped the cart total, the average cart total. And I feel like that helped a little bit with like people being enticed to share. So I think that was a good move for us too.
Yeah, and I also would say that we've partnered with some of our other affiliates and just together to do YouTube Lives kicking off the event. And that has worked really well. People love when we go live on YouTube because then they can ask questions, they can interact. I can say, welcome, Laura. And she's like, she's really excited. We can, answer any questions. So those live events, I think, also create quite a bit of excitement. I think we're going to do more of those for our upcoming camp.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know I've made the mistake in the past of not giving affiliates enough information because you think, okay, well, even this person, they're a professional affiliate. Like what they do is basically affiliate marketing. So they know what they're doing, but still you need to give them everything. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to promote it without having to understand what actually is this offer. How should I word something? Where's a graphic? What should I use here? And that can make a huge difference. So I'm curious, what do you guys feel has changed in maybe like the last few years when it comes to running a major event like this?
I've got two. The first is that there is a lot more competition. So there are a lot more events. And that's not as bad for the attendees, but it's harder to get speakers. So we've had, for our camp coming up, we had some of our very consistent speakers say no, which is totally fine. Angie and I are trying to get better about saying no ourselves. So I'm never going to begrudge somebody a no. But because there are so many events, I think it's a little bit hard to find people to speak at our events. And then I think the economy in general has just made things a little bit more difficult. We host an event in January, and so it's called Crafting for Profit Camp. And so Crafting for Profit Camp, it's our second year this year, and we realized that it was in January, and a lot of people do a no-spend January. So they weren't willing to spend money in January. And so we are retooling our entire camp schedule for next year and just changing around things and making sure we're not hitting January. But it's hard because it's like people don't have as much money, and it needs to go farther. So we need to make sure that what we are offering is really valuable to them.
And I'll also say with the increased competition, it's like making ourselves stand out. We have to think about it more. So we have to think about how, what value we're providing, making ourselves stand out, making sure our camps are the best amongst all of those in the competition so that people want to come back again and again. And I feel like that's something that's been important to both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see it just as a general trend, like with both the economy and the industry overall, like everyone's attention is split in so many places now. And it's less of a novel thing than it was a few years ago of, oh, there's a live event, or oh, there's a course, or whatever it is. And so it used to be easier, even for something like a podcast. You used to be able to say like, oh, well, I'm going to have a podcast. If I get one big guest, they're going to go and tell people, and then it's going to become famous. But now the big guests, they're on podcasts every single day. And so they're not going to tell their audience that, hey, I was on this podcast today. They're going to bother their audience of how many times they're going to tell them they're on podcasts. And so there's a lot more happening. But at the same time, I think it's not a bad thing for us creators because it pushes us, like, as you're saying, to see like, well, how can I create even more value and make this even better? And I think it's allowed everyone to get to this point where they're delivering some very incredible experiences for their customers. All right, well, I've got one more question, and that is on the show, we like to have every guest ask a question to our audience. So If you could ask our audience anything, whether something you're curious about, something you kind of want to get everybody thinking about, what would that be?
So my question is going to be, have you ever thought of doing what Cori and I are doing and actually collaborating with your biggest competitor? So that would be my question for you. And think about the benefits that that could reap for you.
And mine is sort of similar, but it's how can you work with other people in your space to be affiliates? So Angie and I are huge competitors, and we are also affiliates for each other's products. So outside of what we do together, Angie has things that I don't have. I have things Angie doesn't have. And so we are affiliates for each other's products as well. And that has worked out really well for us as well.
Yeah, great questions. So before we get going, where else can people find you guys online?
Sure. So Instagram is good for me, Angie Holden Makes, or you can follow my YouTube channel at Angie Holden. And then Cori and I together, we have the Crafting for Profit Live podcast.
Yes, so we are very excited. Excuse me. Yes, we have our new podcast, which is really exciting, and that can be on all the podcast platforms. And then you can find me personally at Hey Let's Make Stuff on Instagram and Hey Let's Make Stuff on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.